Philippians 2, 1 through 8. Verse 1. If there be therefore any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any bowels and mercies, fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Verse 4. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself, and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Today I want to talk to you from the thought, be like Jesus. Be like Jesus. In this second chapter of Philippians, it should be the motto and the striving point for every church, and therefore also every Christian. In this chapter, it opens, and Paul tells his followers at Philippi that if you love the Lord, you need to show some sign. He says, if you really are who you profess to be, Christians, then you should be able to work together wholeheartedly with one mind and for one purpose. So many churches today are torn apart, not because of doctrine, not because of differences in theology, but so many churches are torn apart because the people of God cannot work together. But Paul says it starts with love. It starts with love. See, when you love one another, you are, as 1 Corinthians chapter 13 says, you are patient, you are kind, you don't envy and don't boast. Love is not proud, is not self-seeking, and is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. That's love. I have seen some of the worst interactions in church meetings. But when you come in with love, you are not rushed, and you don't rush others who want to give input on ideas. You don't say and act ugly. If your religion is something that you can lay down that easily, then you may not have fully picked it up the last time you laid it down. The love in you will make you want to treat others the way you want to be treated. The love in you should make you want to treat others right. And it doesn't hold grudges. You don't bring back to this meeting the same issues that you had last meeting. You don't hold grudges, but you leave it in the last meeting. Our church motto is, love on the inside shows up on the outside. If there is love anywhere on the inside, then it will shine through. If you have love in you, then it is going to show up in your actions. It's going to show up in your words. It's going to show up in the way you treat others. Paul says we should work wholeheartedly, not just putting in a half-hearted effort, but giving our all. Paul says, even if it is not our idea, or even if it is not our plan, he says we should give it all we've got, just like it were ours. We should work with one mind and for one purpose. Our church covenant says, if we can't all agree, we do agree to be governed by the majority rule. And we should all be working to get the job done, because we understand it's really not about us, but it's about the mission of Christ being fulfilled. Later in this chapter, Paul outlines or says that the mind we should have, he tells us that we should let the mind of Jesus be the mind that is in us. Paul tells us we have to have that same mind frame and be like Jesus. He says we have to be like Jesus. Well, how can you be like Jesus? He says we can't act selfish, but that's how we can be like Jesus. We can think about others and even more than we think about ourselves. He says we can't work to impress others, not doing what looks right, but doing what is righteous. That's how we can be like Jesus. We have to humble ourselves. Know that it's not about us. It's not about our will, but it is about the will of God being done. That's how we can be like Jesus. We can't just do what is good for us, but we have to do what is good for all. That's how we can be like Jesus. That's the mind of Jesus. And we have to renew that mind every day, sometimes every hour or every minute, till it becomes our mind frame, till we become more and more like Jesus. We have all seen these figures, political figures, from politics or from sports, from music, and we try to emulate them or try to be like them. But I want to be like Jesus. That's who we need to emulate. The God that left his throne in glory. The God who wrapped himself up in flesh, who came down to earth in a lowly manger, who healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, made the lame to walk, the dumb to talk, who lived a life full of ridicule and still gave his life for those same people that yelled, "Crucify him." Those same people that turned their backs on him. That's who we need to be like. We need to be like Jesus. I don't want to be like Mike. I want to be like Jesus. I don't want to be like Kim K or Kanye. I want to be like Jesus. I don't need to shake it like Nicki Minaj. I want to be like Jesus. I don't want to be like LeBron or Kobe. I want to be like Jesus. I want to be like Jesus. I need to be like Jesus. All of us, we have to be like Jesus. That's what Paul says to his church in Philippians. Be like Jesus.